and welcome to the Built On Air podcast. Built On Air is a regular podcast where we talk with everyday people and learn about the amazing things they are doing with Airtable. Today's podcast is sponsored by OpenSide, the leading solutions provider for Airtable customers. Check out openside.com to learn more about their products and services that can take your Airtable usage to the next level. Use promo code BuiltOnAir to receive $20 towards any product purchase. Today, our host Zoe will be speaking with Ash Forrest, freelance artist and techie from St. Louis, Missouri. Ash is a photographer, artist, live streamer, and marketer who has adopted Airtable into whatever aspect of life she can. Meal planning, bill paying, record keeping, and more. As she puts it, everything in life can be Airtabled. Ash shares two bases with us today. First, her bullet journal base, where she can track her daily thoughts, ideas, food and water intake, exercise, and more. Next, Ash and Zoe discuss her content and marketing system, which helps bloggers gain a handle on their content, plan posts over different social media platforms, track their keywords, and make sure they are paying attention to their SEO settings.
Hey Ash, welcome to Built On Air. Thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about sort of what you do and your background. I would say you're sort of further on the artsy spectrum of the people that we've had on our show.
Cool. So I'm a freelance artist. What I do is a lot. There's a lot. So I do photography. I was a full-time photographer for about 8 years, shooting weddings all the time. And I started slowly making the transition out of that. I wanted to focus more on my my painting. I went to school for printmaking, and that's what I got my degree in. So I kind of put all of my art on the shelf to focus on the photography business. And I was tired of that. So about 3 years ago, I just kind of started slowly transitioning out of that into full-time artist mode. So I still do photography. Like I still have a lot of photography gigs, mostly like conferences and bigger weddings and things. I'll do just a little bit here and there. But I do a lot of, I do painting commissions. I do some content creation. I'm partnered with Twitch, which is like a live streaming, website. So yeah, I just kind of have my hands in a lot of little creative buckets, I guess, so to speak.
Very cool. So I have so many questions for you about sort of that quick intro. Cool. But I guess Twitch is what I want to ask about first. I've heard of how artists will, kind of just set up a live stream and paint. Is that what you do? Like, tell us about how did you even get started with that and how is it going?
Let's see. So about 3 or 4 years ago, my friend, who I knew from back in my youth, whenever we were like, big online people, we did a lot of chat room moderation and website creation and stuff. And, he was like, you should check out this website, Twitch. It's a gaming website because it's primarily a gaming streaming website. Mm-hmm. But they just opened a creative section and they had just started with, Bob Ross's birthday. They launched this whole new creative section. And I was like, this is cool. I could do this. And that's literally what it is. It can be, you can have no cam or you can have a face cam. The way that I traditionally set mine up is I have an overhead camera on my table to show what I'm working on, and then a secondary camera. And it's a little bit about art and it's a lot of it about like building a community. So, just kind of, you build this community with the people that come to your stream and become regulars. And there's we have a Discord, which is where most of the activity happens, like when I'm not streaming. And so, so I did a little bit of gaming too, but most of the time I was doing art. And I did that full time for 2 years where I was just focusing on Twitch. Now these days I'm kind of using it as just one piece of content versus like all of my content. So yeah, Twitch is really cool.
That's awesome. So how long would you start from like a totally blank canvas to a finished product when you would stream?
It depends on what I was working on. I work on lots of different stuff. Like I'll do anything from like a photorealistic like food drawing to like a large abstract piece.
Like the ones you have in the back there. Awesome.
I have a ton of canvas. I have a solo show coming up this summer, so I'm going to be spending a lot of time working on these large abstract pieces.
Awesome.
But I've also done digital artwork on there. So you just screen share, just kind of like, we're going to do here, screen share and show what you're working on digitally. There's a lot of digital artists that actually work on Twitch.
That's really cool. I can imagine too, it's just like, yeah, it is that Bob Ross, just like very calming. Like, do you talk while you paint, or is it just cool? So
yeah, you talk. There's always activity happening. So the difference between like a YouTube video of you painting versus a Twitch stream is just the live component. So there's a chat room and there's people chatting, and then there's different things they can do that can trigger like alerts on your stream. So like if another channel ends their stream, they can come and raid your channel. So they basically like bring their whole audience over, and then that can trigger an alert, and and then you react. And a lot of the reasons people watch streams is because they want reaction and interaction and stuff like that. And that's actually how I met my partner, was through a Twitch raid.
No way.
Yeah, he raided my channel, and yeah, rest is history.
That's awesome. So how did he kind of like stand out then amongst all of these other people that are chatting with you?
He was obviously like this streamer. So I could immediately go and see what he was like, because he had, whenever you stream, there's all your old videos archive. So I could immediately go and be like, who is this person? And check out his videos. And I was like, he's funny. I like him. So yeah, that's how he stood out.
Right. Yeah. It is like a little bit easier than normal online dating because you're not like stalking, just social media photos. You're like, what do you sound like?
Right. What do you think? Yeah. What do you think about this?
Do I like what you're saying? Like, Are you crazy?
Right.
Yeah. So very cool. Well, I'm glad that worked out. So do you guys ever stream together? Does he still stream?
We both kind of took a backseat to streaming to focus on more of our art and make that the forefront of what we do. But we have done some really cool streams together. We actually did a charity stream for this charity called Save the Children, where we did a 24-hour stream.
Oh my gosh.
And we raised $5,000 for the charity. It was really cool. It was really exhausting. I'll never do that again. But it was interesting.
Right. You're like, I'm glad I've done that.
Yeah.
I will not be doing it again. Really cool. So then it sounds like you kind of just have these sort of like waves or phases of sort of, different ways that, you're like, I'm an artist, but I'm also making money. So tell us a little bit about, so you've done Twitch, you did photography for weddings and stuff full time. Do you, or did you have any other kind of like cool side projects going, or like things to supplement your, main painting goals?
Right now, I really am just like, I do a little bit of marketing support when people need it. So I have a history with marketing. Whenever I first graduated, I got a job as a marketing director. And then I went on to run my photo business full time, which was, a lot of marketing involved in that. So I do a little bit of marketing support for clients. And that's actually how I discovered Airtable. Was last year I had a client that I was doing like podcast, like not like the editing of the podcast, but like support with the graphics and the organization and the website and all that. And I was helping them with some other event production stuff, and they had Airtable. And that's actually how I discovered Airtable, was through that client.
Oh, very cool. So then did you kind of immediately think of it as something like you would begin to use, or were you just like, I just need to learn the system,
No, I was immediately like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Like because I love organization. And when you do like a million different things, you have to have a system of organization, or else you would do none of the things, or you would get no sleep. So I love organization. And at the time I was using Trello, and this thing called Notion.
Yeah, I like Notion too.
Yeah, I was using those two. And when I saw Airtable, I was just like, I love this. And I immediately like started like seeing what I could do with it. And I started like reorganizing everything that client had in their Airtables to like be more efficient. And I loved it. And that's one cool thing that I want people to know is like, a lot of people, when I tell them about Airtable, they're scared right away. And they're like, oh God, like formulas and numbers and Excel, like, I don't think so. That's not for me. But like, you don't have to use, I don't even use formulas in any of my bases, so I am always trying to preach the Airtable gospel to like artists and people that I think could use the organization and the systems, but are a little scared of it because there's not that much of a learning curve with Airtable, honestly.
Right. Yeah. I think the most important thing is to kind of see it where you can be like, oh, here's an example of something I can do. Great. Let me think about how I can make that better for myself. And I do totally agree too, having used Trello and Notion, they're both great tools, but it's like Trello sometimes I'm like, I want to see this in another way. And then with Notion, I'm like, this is great for like a document, but sometimes it's a little bit, too open-ended for maybe, just wanting to track things where I can like check boxes or whatever. So, and then, so are you kind of, so that was what you said 2 years ago, right? That you kind of like first discovered Airtable. So now what are you using it for personally or professionally?
So I use it really a lot personally. I use it for like a bullet journal. I use it to track all my like meals and recipes and things like that. I use it for all of my bill paying, personal accounting, my, business accounting. I have like an Airtable of all my records, like my actual records.
Awesome.
I just, anything that I can fit into an Airtable, I figure out a way usually to fit it into an Airtable. I use it to keep, track of all my clients, like a Rolodex. I use it to track any content that I'm going to create, to have like a library of all of my artwork that I've completed, to track like, if it's on sale, who purchased it, all that kind of stuff. So I pretty much, everything in my life can be Airtabled, I feel like.
Right. Yeah. You're like, look at all these bases. Me. So, and I guess really you are going to show us a couple of examples, your bullet journal, and then your sort of content and marketing management one. But one other sort of just life question for you before we get into the nitty gritty. So tell us, now that you're kind of painting full time, what is that like? Do most of your sales and your clients, go through shows, or just how has this become like a full-time thing? I feel like that's something, everyone's like, I'm going to sell my art. How do you make it work?
I mean, there's so many different ways. So one way is through galleries. Like I said, I have a gallery show later this summer. It's going to be just all my work, which that's one way to sell work. Another is social media, just like being on like Instagram and like always posting and always showing that this is what you do, so you're fresh in people's minds whenever opportunities come up. That's been like a big one for me. Going to art shows, networking with other artists, and just always be putting myself out there as like, this is what I do. And if you take yourself seriously, then other people will take you seriously, and then opportunities will start coming. Twitch was a really great place where I sold a lot of work too, because if you're painting live, it's like showing how the work is created, and people are like, oh my gosh, like I want to see my painting like made live. That's really cool. So that was a cool way to get a lot of commissions too.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited for you. And I love how you have the typical like artist's bedroom too. Some rope lights and like all of your paintings stacked. So I would say even, the background of your video interview is a great, addition to your brand. But I guess now we'll go ahead and kind of turn it over to you and go ahead and share your screen, and then just walk us through the two bases you've scrubbed for us of all of your.
So I created this fresh, empty. If you go to my actual Airtable, there's a million workspaces, because I actually use them for graphic design clients too. If I have a client, I'll create a workspace just for them where we can communicate and share information. So this is a fresh, clean, wiped one. And I have I'm going to walk through these two bases here because I think they're really fun and useful. And the first one is bullet journal. So everybody might not know what a bullet journal is, but basically it's traditionally a physical journal where people like really go all out and draw and make it really beautiful and have all these different sections for tracking different things. And some really popular things that people track are like their mood, their workouts that day, things of that nature. And it's for people who are wanting to kind of start keeping track of their habits and form better habits and write things down. And so I tried to do a physical one, and you'd think like being an artist that I would be all about it and I would really stick with it, but I couldn't stick with it. It wasn't always with me. Whereas Airtable's like always with me because, if I'm not at my computer, it's on my phone and my phone is always with me. So I always have it. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to make a digital Airtable or a digital bullet journal. And it's great because at the end of the day, you just tick, 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 write, type, you're done. It's filled out. You have an easy, I can easily search anything. Like if I'm trying to remember something that happened on a certain day, I can type it in and find it. So this is the base, basically the base that I created for it. And you can see up here, I use little icons because I just think that's fun.
Yeah, fun. Emojis are definitely a great way to spice up your Airtable.
Yeah, it's just fun. And I just put in the description is where I put what it actually is. And because I have this as a download for people so they can, copy the base and then use it themselves. So it literally goes like this. Did I do my water intake that day? Did I take my, medication and vitamins that day? And all the way down the line. And then the cool thing that I like about using Airtable for this is the fact that I can then make all these different views. So for one example is an idea list. So I have a segment on my daily log where I can jot down ideas because I just will have like random ideas all throughout the day. I could be like walking to the grocery store and be like, oh my God, this is a great idea. But if I don't write it down, like it's going to go away.
Right. Yeah. And that's again why like a physical book doesn't work. You're like, hey, I'm like on a run or I'm out on an errand. Like I'm not going to, remember when I get home. Capture it as soon as you can.
Exactly. So I could just pull out my cell phone and just type it right here and not even like type it in notes on my cell phone and then have to remember to like, it's all in one place. And that's why I love it so much. So I'll jot down any ideas I have. And then I can go to ideas and then there's the list. There's the list of all the different ideas that I have. Another cool way is like to track like menstrual cycle, for example. I know so many people who have apps for this.
Yeah, there are a ton.
Do you remember to open up another app to enter more data about your life?
Right. And then like another app has weird personal information on you. And yeah.
Right. Exactly. So this is such a great way for it to just all be in one place yet again. And then I have a few other tabs up here in this example base. And one is workouts, with the explanation that I don't this is just for other people. Like when I go to the gym, I just do what I do. I don't really like track it all seriously, but I know a lot of people really, really do. And so I think it's cool to have, all of your different workouts, like with the reps you do and like the duration and all that kind of stuff with an area for notes. So you can actually track that. And then meals is like, a thing that I think people should track a little bit more is like what they're consuming. And not only that, but I also have, all my recipes loaded.
Nice.
So I can easily do that. I can go to a calendar view and I can drag and drop like what I'm going to eat that week. So I just have a clear, it's like a rough meal planning system. So I can just kind of see exactly what that week looks like. And then I can, it makes grocery shopping easier and all that stuff.
For sure.
And then I have a to-do list on here too. Again, just because I kind of like it all to be in one base. This isn't what I personally do. This was just for this example that I created for others to download. But a lot of times people ask me about Trello because they are used to Trello and they like that drag and drop kind of system.
Right.
So I always have to show them like there is Trello. It's Trello times a million. Like you can do the exact same thing that Trello can do, but only a lot more other stuff.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
So that's kind of that's the bullet journal base.
Very cool. So in your own base, like, do you kind of at the end of a month or anything kind of like look through and see like your progress or your stats?
Yeah, totally. I think I have a mood tracker and an energy level tracker. And I think it's really interesting to see kind of like how my energy levels can be affected by directly like what I'm eating.
Oh, I bet that is really cool.
Yeah. And directly by my water intake. And, because it's not every day that I hit that mark of drinking as much water as I want.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that affects my health and my mood. So yeah, and also I should probably mention the way that I wrap up each month, because I'm using the free version of Airtable, is I'll then name this like June 2000 and I'll name this where it says daily log, June 2019. And then copy and make a whole nother one, because you can only have like so many records in a table.
Right. But then you can still kind of have that archive.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is really cool. I think just like you, I was, really intrigued by the bullet journal craze, but it seems that like really people have taken it from being something like just useful like this to bring more awareness to yourself to like this weird like Pinterest art project where they spend like 3 hours, doodling it and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, this is beautiful, but I'd be like afraid to actually use it and write in it, because like, what if my handwriting quality that day doesn't match my beautiful manners or whatever? So I like how this is, no nonsense, like still really flexible, but you always have it on you, and it doesn't take you like an entire day every month to set up to whatever weird bullet journal standards there are.
No, totally. And like some people like really do make it into an art project, and it's very like, it's like very zen for them to set it up. And it's like, it has its own activity for them. But for me, like you just said, like I had one and I started writing out the script of the month, and it was off a little. And then I was like, and I like wanted to rip the page out, but it wasn't the kind of notebook where like you would be able to tell like the page had been ripped out. And I was like, this is too stressful for me.
You're like, no, I can't start my month like this.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, right. I love to like look at that kind of stuff, but just appreciate that someone else has done it, and tracking it this way instead. Very cool. So the second, is there anything else you wanted to say about your Bujo base? Or
I don't think so.
Cool.
I don't think so. I think I'm excited for people to hear about this though, because I think there's a lot of people that practically want to track this stuff. It just seems like too much work, or like, it's like you don't remember. But this just makes it so simple. It's just the end of the night, go through, fill it out. It's right there, either on your phone or your computer. So yeah, I love it. I think it's been a huge help. So this is a base that I created to kind of help people with content and marketing. And specifically, this one here is for blogs. But you could substitute that with, like video or YouTube or really whatever you wanted. But this specifically is for blogs. And so I basically have a couple different views, and the one that's the most probably exciting is, I don't know if it's exciting, but the coolest one is the SEO checklist.
Awesome.
Which I'm going to make this, and the reason why I created this scrubbed version is so that I could share the bases with people and they could copy them. But, so pretty simple here on this first page, just the entry of what your blog is going to be. And then I have a stages column here. And the main reason for having this stages column is so that I can have like this Trello-esque type of view that takes you through the, different workflow stages of the piece. And then a place for images. And this is one of the main things that I was excited about with Airtable when I found it, was the fact that you could easily attach images to it. That's like it was like a huge deal whenever I found Airtable that you could put, because so much of what I do is there's graphics attached to everything that I do. So this is really, really cool that, you can just have your images right there in the...
Right. And they can still be like that full file resolution. You don't have to worry about it getting like, transformed by wherever you're uploading it.
Exactly. So focus keyword of whatever your blog post is going to be. This is where I put the copy. And this is also really great for teams, or like people who have somebody helping them with their copy for their website, to just have one space where everything is, and you can see who edited what, when, and all of that. So this is where I'll put the copy. This is where I put the tags that are the tags on the blog on my website. And then I have this column for posted, just so that I can keep everything, separated in those two chunks, since I have it grouped by the field. All the posted, all the unposted. And then if we go to SEO checklist, this is really, really helpful for anybody who, publishes copy on the web, because there's so many little things with SEO that can be effective. And this makes it so it's just such a simple checklist that you could have anybody on your team really do it. Because I put what it means in the description. So when you hover over the information, it says exactly what each thing means. So, if the keyword of this article is how to use, Airtable to make a bullet journal, the keyword is bullet journal Airtable. And then you just simply go through and you see if your content qualifies for each one of these things. Does the URL contain the focus keyword? Check. Does the title contain the focus keyword near the front of the title? Is the focus keyword in the H2 heading? And it kind of goes all the way down the line for pretty much all of the major things that are important when it comes to SEO. Are the images optimized with the keywords? Do you have outbound links, inbound links, all of that? And so that one's really helpful for people who maybe don't know much about SEO and maybe don't have, they don't have the income to hire somebody to do their SEO. This is some pretty solid, a pretty solid SEO checklist for content.
Awesome. Yeah, there are so many like little bits and pieces that you need to get to. So it is nice to just see everything laid out like this. And like you said, if you working with someone, it would be really easy to see that they double checked everything.
Yeah, exactly. So it's exactly right. So that you don't have to go through and read the content and make sure it hits all these different key points. It's right there. There's a checklist on if it's been done or not. And then publish dates. This is a calendar for if you have a lot of content, for just to show kind of I like to visually lay things out in calendar format so I can space things out accordingly. That way I'm not super content heavy like one week and then everything just kind of starts dropping off, or like I like things to be evenly spaced out when it comes to like releasing content. So I like having this calendar view for that. And then again, the workflow list. And then I have a social media tab. And so the reason why I have that as a tab and not included on this on the main table here is because I have it linked to, I have a link to record column because there could be several different pieces of social media attached to one article. So you might have like an Instagram and Facebook story, an Instagram post, a YouTube video, there might be a LinkedIn graphic, all the graphics are sized differently for all these different places where you would release content. So having a separate tab just for social media posts allows me then to do the link to record with each article showing, okay, for this article, we're going to do a LinkedIn thing and a Facebook story and an Instagram story. And I can go immediately to that record over here.
For sure. Right. And while still keeping all of the graphics and like the little tiny annoying differences between every platform sort of in its own record and in its own space.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much the content marketing base. It's pretty simple, but it's really effective. And I'm excited to share this with content creators, because a lot of the content creators that I know and have worked with and am friends with, they solely come from a creative mindset. They don't necessarily have the organization business focused side to them. And so anytime I can make this easy for people that are creative, it makes me really happy and really excited.
Right. Yeah. You can kind of bridge that gap a little bit and be like, no, don't be afraid. Like, look here. Yeah, right. It is really, it's nice to just be able to kind of have that one place where, you have your link and your images, even your copy, everything's there. Like there's no, you have the calendar view. So you've done kind of a really nice job in the space of, showcasing different views and like different functionalities to make it actually useful, while it not being like really overwhelming and super complex.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I don't use any formulas, and I know that there's so much. That's the cool thing about Airtable too, is it's such a versatile tool. I feel like you can do very simple things and you can do very extravagant things. But so far in my Airtable journey, I've kept it pretty simple with what I'm doing. I was watching one of your podcast episodes where somebody's using formulas, and I was like, oh God, I even got a little nervous. I was like, oh gosh, like I don't know how to use. I've never even used any of those. I want to explore and see what I can do with using some of that stuff. But I think this will resonate really well with artistic and creative types.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's the great thing about Airtable too, is it really is kind of, it's not forcing you to use anything that you don't know how to use or don't even need to use, right? You can just kind of discover it at your own pace, or not at all if you don't need it for your purposes. So it is like it's a very like democratic app, it doesn't like force any structure or like complexity on you.
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely super democratic. I like that description because, there was other programs like Salesforce and lots of other really complicated, expensive programs that you can really just make an Airtable work in its place, which is really cool.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So tell our audience where they can go to check out these bases and, get a download if they want to grab one.
Yeah. So my website is Ash Forrest with 2 R's, ashforrest.com. And I have a blog, and I have released this bullet table journal base, this one over here, as a download. And I have a video tutorial walkthrough. So somebody who's never used it before can copy the base and see exactly what each thing does. And I'm going to release, probably tomorrow, the content and marketing one as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we will definitely put that link in the show notes for all our listeners so they can check out all of your cool creations and be inspired to, track their water intake and dog walking and crunches, whatever you may want to track. Thank you so much, Ash, for chatting with us. It was a pleasure, and best of luck with your upcoming show.
Thank you so much.